Hi there. So every so often I get an opportunity to help out and to make a difference. Recently, I was approached by a friend to design a wine label for a project that he was involved in. This is a special label for a vintage from the VJB Estate Winery in Sonoma County. This vintage was put aside so that the proceeds could go to help offset the costs of a family's medical bills because of a tragic accident involving their son. As I inquired further about what happened, my heart was broken. I listened to Keith Aiden, the father of the young man who was hurt. He tearfully recounted the chain of events that led up to his son's partial paralysis. I couldn't help but cry along with him, not only because I'm a father, but because I was a victim of bullying myself when I was a kid. You know, it's a sad reality that in this world, people who are perceived to be different or vulnerable, whether it's true or not, are targeted and are mistreated by individuals who lack compassion. Cruelty, to my mind, is never okay, and it leaves its mark. And sometimes those scars can take a lifetime to get over, and sometimes they can take a life. I needed to be a part of making this family whole again and doing whatever it was I could do to be a part of the healing process. The wine was to be called Adam's Reserve, and the label needed to gently tell the story without being too literal. I came away with the notion that while this story was tragic, it was also one of hope. You know, life is messy and things happen that are beyond our control. The best hope that we have is that we can take tragedy and turn it into triumph. I couldn't help but draw on the metaphor that in order to make wine, grapes needed to be crushed and broken. So I envisioned a bunch of Cabernet grapes as the focal point, with 2 grapes off to the side, with the front one being crushed. The idea being they represent those who are broken and those who support them and suffer alongside of them. Because of the dynamic nature of the subject matter, I chose to use a watercolor style to create the illustration. After I created rough samples that the family could look over and choose from, I started with a drawing. I began using a pencil and finished the full line art on a piece of paper. Due to time limitations, I then chose to do the coloring digitally instead of actual watercolor. Once the art was done, I placed it into the design that the family had previously approved. Now, it was on to the printing. Because this was going to be a limited run of 500 labels, I chose a 40-pound acid-free stock that was cold pressed. The design called for the label to have a square top, but I wanted an irregular edge at the bottom to trim around the illustration. Normally, when this sort of effect is called for, the designer needs to create what is called a bleed. This is where the art extends beyond the cut so that the final product doesn't show any irregularities or gaps in the art from where the cut might not have registered properly. In order to save time and cost, I chose to cut the labels on my own laser cutter rather than to take it somewhere. This also meant I had more control over the registration, and so therefore I didn't need to put a bleed on the art. After several hours of cutting, the front labels were completed, and the next day they were delivered. So, there you have it, Adam's Reserve. If you'd like to send a note of support or pick up a bottle for yourself, check out the comments down below for Cafe Pro Bono, for their email, as well as their street address. For now, take care of each other, be kind. It really does matter.